On the day she buried her father, Clara thought the worst had already happened. She was wrong, because before the sun set that same day, everything her father worked for, everything she called home, was already slipping out of her hands, and the person she trusted the most was the one behind it all. Clara was just 19 years old, too young to understand how cruel the world could be, but old enough to feel every bit of the pain that was coming. She lived with her father in a small, quiet house, on the outskirts of town. It wasn't big, it wasn't luxurious, but it was filled with love. Her father, Mr. Okeke, was a simple man, hardworking, honest, respected, the kind of man who would go without food, just to make sure his daughter never lacked. And to Clara, he wasn't just a father, he was her whole world. Her mother had died when she was very young, so it had always been just the two of them. No relatives around, no extra support, just father and daughter. Every morning, her father would wake her gently. "Clara, my sunshine, it's time to wake up." She would smile, but keep her eyes closed, pretending to still be asleep, just so she could hear him say it again. And he always did. They shared everything. Simple meals at a small table, quiet evenings filled with laughter, moments that didn't look like much, but meant everything. Sometimes, they would sit outside in the evening breeze, talking about the future. "I may not have much," her father would say, "but I will give you the best I can." And Clara believed him, with all her heart. She had just gained admission into the university. Her dream was clear: study hard, graduate, make money, and give her father the life he deserved. But life had other plans. It happened on a quiet evening. Nothing felt unusual at first. Her father returned from work earlier than usual, looking tired, very tired. He dropped his bags. "I don't feel too well." At first, she didn't panic. She thought it was just stress. She rushed to get him water, tried to calm him down. "Maybe you just need to rest," she said. But within minutes, everything changed. His breathing became heavy. His hands started trembling. His face pale. "Daddy?" she called, her voice shaking now. No response. Panic filled the room. Real panic. The kind that makes your heart race, and your mind go blank. She tried to call for help. She tried to stay strong. She tried to believe everything would be fine. But before anything could be done, her father was gone. Just like that. No warning. No goodbye. No final words. Just silence. The house that once held laughter was now filled with people. Voices everywhere. Whispers in corners. Fake sympathy hanging in the air. Relatives Clara had not seen in years suddenly appeared, crying loudly, acting concerned, talking as if they had always been there. Among them was her aunt, her father's younger sister, Auntie Beatrice. She arrived dressed in expensive clothes, making sure everyone noticed her. "My brother, my only brother," she cried dramatically. She rushed to Clara and pulled her into a tight embrace. "My poor child, don't worry. I'm here for you now." Clara held on to her tightly, because in that moment, she needed someone, anyone. For the first time since her father died, she felt a small sense of relief. She thought she wasn't alone anymore. She didn't know. That was the beginning of everything going wrong. As the days passed, and preparations for the burial continued, Clara began to notice something. Small things at first, easy to ignore, but impossible to forget. Her aunt was always present, everywhere, talking to people in quiet corners, giving instructions, making decisions, even decisions that didn't concern her. At first, Clara didn't question it. She was too overwhelmed, too broken, too lost in grief. But then, something happened. One afternoon, as she walked past the sitting room, she heard voices. Low, careful, almost like they didn't want to be heard. She slowed down, her steps becoming softer. "We need to handle everything quickly," a voice said. It was her aunt. "Before anyone else gets involved." Clara froze. Her heart skipped. Another voice replied, but it was too low to hear clearly. "The property, the documents." Clara's breath caught in her throat. "Property? Documents?" She leaned slightly closer, trying to hear more. But just then, a chair moved. She quickly stepped away, her heart racing. What did that mean? She whispered to herself. But her mind was too heavy to think clearly. Her father had just been buried. Her world had just ended. She didn't have the strength to question anything, so she did what most people do in pain. She ignored it. She told herself it was nothing. After all, This was family. Clouds heavy, like they were carrying the same sorrow she felt. The compound was filled again. People dressed in black. Voices low. Faces pretending to be sad. Clara stood quietly, barely aware of anything around her. Everything felt distant. Like she was there, but not really there. As they carried her father's body, her legs felt weak. As they lowered him into the ground, something inside her broke. Completely. She cried. Not the quiet tears she had been holding back, but deep, painful cries. The kind that come from a place words cannot reach. "Daddy," she sobbed. "Please don't leave me." But the earth kept covering the coffin. Slowly. Silently. Finally. And just like that, her father was gone. Forever. People came to console her. They spoke words she couldn't hear. Words that meant nothing. Because the only voice she wanted to hear was gone. And standing right beside her, holding her hand, was the woman who was about to, her aunt. That evening, after everyone had left, the house became silent. Not peaceful silence, but heavy silence. The kind that presses against your chest. Clara sat alone in her room, still wearing her black clothes, her eyes swollen, her body weak. She stared at nothing, thinking about everything, and nothing at the same time. Then, the door opened. Her aunt walked in. But something was different. There were no tears. No dramatic crying. No sympathy. Her face was calm. Too calm. Cold. Serious. She closed the door behind her slowly, then sat down, her eyes fixed on Clara. And for the first time, Clara felt uncomfortable around her. "Clara," her aunt said. Her voice was steady, controlled. "Listen carefully." Clara sat up slightly, confused, tired, vulnerable. "And this house?" She paused, just for a moment, then said quietly, "This house no longer belongs to you." Clara blinked. Once. Twice. She thought she heard wrong. "Ani, what do you mean?" But her aunt stood up, straightened her clothes, and walked toward the door, without answering, leaving Clara sitting there, confused, shaken, and completely unaware that her life was about to take a darker turn. Clara did not sleep that night. Her aunt's words kept repeating in her mind like a broken record. "This house no longer belongs to you." Every time she closed her eyes, she heard it again. She turned on her bed, then turned again, then lay still. But sleep never came. The room felt different now. Even though nothing had physically changed, everything felt heavier. Like the house itself had shifted. Like she no longer belonged inside it. And that thought scared her more than she wanted to admit. Morning came quietly. Too quietly. A silence that did not feel peaceful, but final. And then, "Clara!" The voice cut through the house sharply. Cold. Direct. Commanding. Clara's eyes opened slowly. Her body still felt weak from the night before. She blinked a few times, trying to understand where she was. Then reality came back all at once. Her father was gone, and something in this house had changed forever. At the door stood her aunt, arms folded, face firm, no emotion, no sympathy, no softness. "This is not your father's house anymore," she said again slowly, each word deliberate. "If you're going to stay here, you will work." Clara sat up immediately, confused and unsettled. "Work? Ani, I don't understand what you mean." Her aunt tilted her head slightly and let out a small laugh. But it wasn't a warm laugh. It was sharp, mocking. "You will understand soon enough." Then and not understanding something in a situation like this was dangerous. That morning, Clara was given a list. A simple sheet of paper. But it felt heavier than anything she had ever held. Sweep the compound. Wash the clothes. Clean the kitchen. Prepare breakfast. Cook. Repeat. She stood still for a long time, staring at it, as if waiting for it to change, as if waiting for someone to tell her it was a mistake. But no one did, because it wasn't a mistake. Just days ago, this was her home. The place she laughed. The place she ate. The place she felt safe. Now she was being given instructions like she was a stranger. Like she was hired help. Her cousins were already awake. They sat in the living room comfortably, watching television, laughing, eating snacks. Completely normal. Like nothing had changed. Like Clara didn't exist. No one spoke to her. No one looked at her. No one asked how she was doing. And slowly, that silence, Clara picked up the broom slowly. Her hands trembled slightly. Not because the work was hard, but because the reality was settling in. She started sweeping. Slowly at first. Then steadily. Hours passed. The sun moved. The house got noisier. But Clara stayed in her own quiet world, working, moving, existing. Her stomach began to hurt from emptiness. She hadn't eaten since the previous day. Her body felt weaker with every passing hour. But she kept going, because she didn't know what else to do. Because stopping felt worse. By afternoon, her legs were tired. Her arms ached. Her head felt light. Still, she continued. Then finally, she gathered courage. She walked slowly toward the sitting room, her steps hesitant, her voice low. "Auntie." Her aunt turned her head slowly. She looked at Clara for a moment, then replied flatly, "What is it?" Clara swallowed. Her throat felt dry. Can I eat? Not a kind smile. Not a warm smile. A slow, cold smile. "Eat." She repeated the word like it was funny. Then she stood up and walked toward Clara. Each step slow, deliberate. "You think food is free here?" Clara's heart sank immediately. I was just asking." Her aunt tilted her head again. "You are asking as if you still belong here." Then she pointed toward the kitchen. "If you want to eat, finish your work first." Clara nodded quickly, almost instinctively. I will do it." And she went back. But even after she finished everything she was told to do, no food came. No one called her. No one acknowledged her. And that night, Clara went to bed hungry, for the first time in her entire life. At first, she thought it would be temporary, just a difficult phase, something that would pass. But days passed, then more days, and nothing changed. If anything, it got worse. Her cousins began to speak to her differently now, not as a person, but as something less. "Why are you so slow? Even a maid would have finished this already. Is this how useless you are?" The words came casually, as if they meant nothing. But to Clara, they meant everything. Each word stacked on the last, each one heavier than before. And slowly, something inside her began to change. Not loudly, not visibly, but quietly. One evening, Clara found herself alone in the kitchen. The house was quieter now. Everyone had gone into their rooms. She sat down slowly on a small stool, her body weak, her stomach empty, her mind exhausted. She looked around. This place was once familiar, warm, safe, but now it felt like somewhere she had been trapped inside. Her eyes slowly moved to a corner of the room, and there it was, a framed picture. Her father, smiling. She just stared at it. Then her lips trembled slightly. "I miss you, Daddy." Her voice was barely audible. "If you were here, none of this would be happening." She paused, and then the emotion finally broke through. Her shoulders shook, her breathing changed, and she cried. Not the quiet kind, not controlled tears, but deep, painful crying. The kind that comes when someone has been holding everything inside for too long. And for the first time since the funeral, Clara let it all out. Later that night, everything was quiet again. Too quiet. Clara was in bed when she suddenly woke up. Her eyes opened sharply. Something had disturbed her. Voices. Low. Careful. Coming from the living room. She froze. Listened. There it was again. Whispers. She sat up slowly. Her heart was already beginning to race. Quietly, she stepped out of bed, bare feet on the floor. Careful not to make noise. She moved closer to the door, and then into the almost unfamiliar. She followed the sound carefully, step by step, until she reached the edge of the living room, and stopped. Her aunt was there, talking to someone. Clara couldn't see the person clearly, but she heard the words. "We need to finish everything quickly." Clara froze completely. "The documents are already in my name." Her breath caught in her throat. Documents? In her name? Her heart started beating faster. She leaned slightly forward, trying to hear more, and then came the next words. "The girl doesn't know anything. By the time she realizes, it will be too late." Silence. Clara's entire body went still. Her mind stopped for a second. Then everything started connecting. The sudden control, the rules, the work, the attitude, the way she was being treated. This wasn't random. This wasn't grief. Something was happening. Something planned. Something hidden. And her aunt was at the center of it. Clara slowly stepped back, carefully, quietly. She returned to her room without making a sound, sat on her bed, and stared into the darkness. For a long time. No tears now. No crying. Only silence. Only thinking. Then very softly, she whispered, "They think I don't know." Her eyes were different now. Not broken. Not scared. But awake. alert, and slowly forming something new. Strength. I'm going to find out everything. And for the first time since her father died, Clara was no longer just surviving. Thank you for watching. If you love this story, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you'll be notified when new episodes come out.